We have a quorum. Good afternoon. It is now 5:02, and I'll call the Master Plan Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 to order. First order of business is a roll call attendance.
Bob and Eric.
Linda Brown.
Carol Gogolinski.
Rebecca Lavalley.
Robert Leonardi.
Ross Smith.
Gordon Larrabee.
Margaret Bacon.
Rich Preston. Thank you.
Dan Mascroft. Dan Mascroft. remote.
Hey, Dan.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for
Myself.
joining us. That was my next step, see who's on Zoom. I think Matt's going to be there, too. You with us, Matt?
Yes.
Wonderful. How are you?
Now,
Okay.
decent.
Okay, you're broken up a little bit, Matt. Are you in your car, or? Okay, so Dan is with us. Hey. Hello. How are you? We're always glad.
everyone.
Always glad. to see you.
Making it. Yeah, I guess.
Otherwise, it's Plan B.
What is Plan B?
Kazoos and tambourines.
And pizza.
No seats left. Oh,
So if you would, sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, how are you? So if you would be so kind as to take a look at the minutes, look
I
at
have
it
a
prepared.
question. So did anybody say that they weren't coming? So for the
That's a good question. That is a good question. Yes, thank you.
well, Mike Zwicker.
Mike Zwicker's going to be just a little bit late.
Okay. And Meg. I think Meg's the only one.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Come through, Matt, ping me. Mike Zwicker's going to be late. Meg will not be able to attend.
Okay. Thank you.
And Bob Moran will be late. You're doing good.
That was closer than I thought.
Pretty good. Thank you. So that's all I have.
Okay, thanks.
The rest will be a small surprise. So if you would take a look at the minutes of February 19th. Hey, Sam.
Okay.
The high schoolers said nobody uses the basketball court. They use it right now.
Could you tell if it was like high school up there or like older?
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed kind of young. There's not really a college population here. So. Thank you. Came out of nowhere. Probably.
You can always argue it's a parent problem, but I don't think it's acute, because that might imply.
Do you have the student notes pulled up somewhere?
So I want to say I really liked the format this time. It's always good, but the way you've broken it up. It's a pleasure to read.
Like a book report.
It's a pleasure to read. That says a lot for minutes.
I can do with this work.
Sure.
It is a lot of work, though. It's a lot of work putting these minutes together. Yeah, because it takes me that long to watch it on YouTube. Oh, yeah, that's a lot of work. And then do you go down to the library just to take them up?
Actually, I go to the Bowlville Library.
You do go to the library to do it. So, yeah.
Bowlville's actually closer to me than Douglas.
Is it really?
Linda, did you move? I'm gonna be circulating the computer.
Doesn't have to be accurate.
What?
We're gonna be circulating
Yeah.
laptop, like
That's-
to
that's
bring
the
them
rub.
home.
So any
I don't have internet.
thoughts or considerations or amendments on the minutes as presented? If you need more time, that's fine. Did you have something?
No,
Seems good.
I read these yesterday, so
You're correct.
I'm correct.
I read them before the meeting, so I can remember what happened and why. All right, hearing no amendments, I'll entertain a motion to accept as presented.
I make the motion to accept as presented.
Second?
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Ross. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those abstaining, the ayes have it.
Do we have to take on roll call because of one?
Yeah, we do, thank you. Well, that's why this is there, to tell me we have to do a roll call vote. So let's do a roll call
Left-hand
vote,
man.
acceptance of the minutes.
Okay, Bob and Eric, aye.
Linda Brown, aye.
Carol Gogolinsky, aye.
Rebecca Lavalley, aye.
Robert Leonardi, aye.
Ross Smith, aye.
Gordon Larry abstain.
Margaret Bacon, aye.
Bob Moran, aye.
Rich Preston, aye. Zoom, Dan?
Dan Mascroft, aye.
That's it. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved, thank you. I wish I could remember that just once, Bob. Just once. Okay, let's see here. So a very important item, critical even, is that we have 2 meetings scheduled in April, and our second one, because I think there's 5 Wednesdays, that's the way it just falls. We do every other Wednesday, is April 30th. That evening, there's going to be a buffet. It's for board and volunteer appreciation in the gym at 5 o'clock, so there's a conflict. So we wanted to talk about that to see what the committee wanted to do. And there are some options there. We could change the time that evening. We could move it to another night if we could find one, or we could cancel, depending on what the committee sees fit to do. I actually want to run that by Sam and Emily, because if we have a lot to do, then we want to keep the meeting, but if we can keep it at 1 meeting a month for the time being.
Can we hold the meeting at the buffet?
You're invited, by the way.
Most of us will be there.
Yeah, I know last year, great.
Yeah.
Except for Carol the whole night.
We can't talk business, though. But that's
Oh,
the-
Oh, yeah, it was nice.
It's not an open meeting.
Very good.
Right, we can't have a meeting, social event.
Right.
So committee, any thoughts on whether,
Which of these was going to be for the April 30th?
I think it's probably
What day is April
Start to talk
30th?
about
What day
that.
is
It's a Wednesday.
And then if there's any
Wednesday.
final edits to the
I say we
statement.
cancel.
So,
I guess we gotta see what we have
Really
to
going to
do.
be
Double
more
up.
dependent
different
on that.
ones, that would also work. Tricky.
Does the cancellation threaten any grant or funding or state timelines?
no, there's a quarterly report that has to go out. We're going to receive that from CMRPC. It's going to be submitted by Matt, so that's timeline's really up to you on
Yeah.
that. I think that's the middle of April sometime, if I'm not mistaken.
So,
Another option could be we meet earlier, but that might be tough for people.
I
Yeah,
think that's enough for people.
Someone
Yeah.
suggested meeting at 4. I think meeting at 5 sometimes is tough.
we have 2 meetings in May.
We could go back to 7 o'clock. The buffet should be done
And
by...
Yeah.
who's going
When
to want
I've
to
been
do
at
it
a
after
party, I don't wanna be
buffet?
there.
Really now?
Pushing it.
Yeah, they have wine, they gonna have wine?
No, What kind of buffet is that? we definitely cancel the meeting.
No, that would make a very interesting meeting. Indeed.
My initial thought is if there's another month that we could double up and have 2 meetings in one. Otherwise, I can work on really condensing stuff into a single meeting for May and a single meeting for April.
Let me run it by Matt. Still there, Matt?
Yes, sir.
Any thoughts on scheduling a second meeting farther down the road?
Second meeting,
in May?
when?
in, let's say.
Or June?
About May.
Want to stay away from the summer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, we run into the planning board meetings, but the fourth Thursday, Wednesday in June might be open. I just got to check with the planning board schedule, that's all.
June 4th,
June 25th would be the 4th. Oh, no, that,
nothing's on the calendar as of right now for June 25th.
Right.
That
I
would,
think we can get an extra meeting right there.
All right, thank you.
That's the only Wednesday that has nothing
we
on.
could just do transportation one meeting and just do population and housing one meeting and get those both.
What-
That's a good idea.
I think
yeah.
that works
Just
really well.
make sure the planning board has put in their schedule.
They're on June 11th.
They're on June.
They're on June
So
11th.
There is no planning board on the 25th.
Yep, they're on June 11th, and they're also on July 9th. So that is a,
But they have 2 meetings every month.
No, summer is one.
Oh, really? Okay.
yep,
Like,
there's nothing on June 25th, and there's nothing on July 2nd. Those are the 2 Wednesdays that I see
No.
open as of right now.
Okay, Matt. Matt, is that subject
Right.
to you confirming and scheduling, shall we say? Or do you
I don't
think?
have a concern with the meeting in June. The week can take July 24th though. I'm unavailable, so that one doesn't work, but we can figure it out.
June 25th works, okay. So we're talking about moving our meeting from April 30th, 5 o'clock, to June 25th, 5 o'clock. Is there any objection?
Oh, we're moving the April 30th meeting?
Yes.
That's the,
Oh,
that's when they have the
Senior buffet.
right. I was wondering if we could meet sooner, perhaps a 4 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, we
Would've been
talked about that, and it wasn't, yeah, I don't know that that's, we're going to roll with that.
Mike Wicker won't make it.
No, Mike.
Right.
Maybe even
Ross.
somebody here.
Yeah.
Make it.
yeah, it's too hard.
I don't think that works, Matt.
A lot of people have trouble.
Okay, so the 30th moving to
30, but that would,
The only other, looking at the town calendars, Tuesdays and Thursdays are other openings.
Well, there's other considerations, other meetings, and there's Matt's schedule, so it gets kind
Yeah.
of complicated. So what's on the table is moving Wednesday, April 30th at 5 to June 25th at 5 o'clock, and that's okay with
Yeah, it's cool. That's-
Emily and Sam? Any objection?
I think we need to vote on it because it's changing the calendar.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
So that mean we have a meeting June 18th, and then the next week, the 25th?
That works for us in terms of
Yeah.
our schedule, like in terms of like the chapters, because we're going to be presenting things at that point in time.
Yeah.
So we can present one chapter one week and then another chapter the next week. And that's not the entire chapter, that's just going to be like key findings to
Yeah.
inform the development.
But
of the
yeah, to
chapter.
have 2 meetings, it will really open up for more like discussion and not have to squish these 2 chapters into one meeting, so we
Yeah.
can really like get nitty gritty.
Great. Any other comments, considerations? So I think we should vote on that, do a roll call vote.
what do we?
So all those in favor?
Well, we need to, somebody has to make a motion.
Make a motion to move the scheduled April 30th meeting to June 25th.
I second. Motion.
All right, so it's motion made by Bob, seconded by Rob. No, look at the new
Bob,
guy.
Rob.
We got to. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
God. I mean, yeah, so.
Bob and Eric, aye.
Linda Brown, aye.
Carol Gogolinski, aye.
Rebecca LaValle, aye.
Robert Leonardi, aye.
Ross Smith, aye. Gordon Larrabee, aye.
Margaret Bacon, aye.
Bob Moran, aye.
David Mascroft, aye.
Rich Preston, aye. Thank you. The ayes have it, the motion's passed. Mark your calendars. All right, let's see what we have here. So at this point, I do have something I've added to the agenda that we can talk about later. What we're hoping to do is have a standing item on the agenda, and what it will be is sort of a revolving standing item going through all 7 of the sections referred to in the master plan, so that we can get into sort of a deeper discussion. An example would be, we started to get into a discussion regarding housing, so I thought that would be our opportunity to dig a little deeper, get into the weeds, if you will, if time allows. And we'll continually just rotate through the sections and be able to, and I'll leave it to the committee. I'll propose something, but I'll leave it to you you can decide if that's an appropriate item to talk about, or whether you want to talk about something else, but I think it would afford us an opportunity to dig a little deeper into some of these issues. So with that, I'll pass it on to CMRPC, to Emily and Sam.
Cool. Okay, what are we starting? Oh. I thought you were-
Hi, Matt.
That's okay. So I think we can start with summarizing how the workshop went at the high school. So myself, Sam, Bob was there, and we worked with the principal, Principal Ringette, to coordinate it was kind of like a focus group of students from grades 9 to 12. And I think there were about 4 or 5 students from each grade, so it was a nice cross-section. They got called down from whatever class they were in. We had an open class, and they were all sitting in a nice circle. We had like fruit and pastries for them to really like thank them for participating in this. But it went really well. So we started out, Sam gave like a kind of 5-minute presentation on like the importance of a master plan and kind of like what the role of local government is. And just to kind of give them a quick like intro, like why we're here, why we're asking for their opinions. I think did we hand out anything? Yeah, we handed out like some slides. And then we had the activity where we had them kind of rank different priorities based on, we had kind of 3 different groups. So we had the like local government, kind of population, more people-oriented items, and then we had more like economic development, business, housing related items, and then we had like more nature, sustainability, open space, recreation groups of like different items. So we kind of like went through each poster, spent about like 15 minutes kind of like just asking them to kind of go around and say like what is important to them, like any challenges they run into as youth in the community, and just any like stories that they might have. So there are a few people in the group that were definitely big talkers, so they had a lot to say. But we tried to get like everyone to engage, and yeah. So I have some like summary things that we went over. So if you don't mind me taking like 5 minutes, I can just go over kind of like the things that they brought up. And I just think I mean, I thought it was such a great event. Like, I was really pleased with it. A lot of the stuff conveniently aligns with a lot of the things we were talking about, too. So that makes our job easier as we're kind of creating goals and everything. So, yeah, I'll just go through this. And then Sam, like, feel free to fill in if there's anything that I miss. So, let's see. One student brought up municipal government transparency as a priority. Right off the bat. It was incredible. Just wanting to have more of a say in how government and tax dollars are being spent. Yes, of course. Let's see, then they went into concern about the quality of education in schools. So I think students were relatively satisfied with how things are operating now, but offered a few suggestions, like opportunities for more, let's see,
Technology.
like technology, programming, things that would really help them be prepared for jobs in the future.
They're like also like concerned about teacher salaries.
Yeah, yeah, they were really like.
Because like they had a teacher leave
in which
because
regard, when you say they were concerned about the salaries, too low, too high?
Too low, yeah. They were like, we want the teachers to be able to live in the town.
yeah, and like they were concerned that like a teacher that was available for like programming education, like coding and stuff, had to actually leave because they couldn't afford to work there anymore.
You wouldn't happen to remember the age of the student that made that comment of transparency?
Oh, we didn't ask them for their age when we went around and did, oh, well, no, we did ask them for their grade, but.
Senior,
I want to say he was a junior or senior.
junior, okay.
Yeah, he was concerned about like
Upperclassmen.
yeah, some upperclassmen stuff. So I think he
Yeah.
probably was that age
Okay.
group.
Quick question on that kid as well, because I was going to ask a follow-up question when you guys were done. Did he seem to have a lot of knowledge on how municipal government is run?
More than your maybe average teenager.
Okay.
I was
I
surprised.
thought he did, yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple there like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering, like, how knowledgeable were they about the actual government? Because that's something we're tossing around in a different thing I'm doing.
Yeah. It seems like they're as informed as they kind of can be. I mean, I'll talk about this later, but they brought up like the desire for more communication kind of from the town, more just like information about what's going on, like how to get involved, things like that. So,
It's kind of odd because they came up with an idea today, kind of brainstorming on it, that targets that exact topic. I'm not going to say much more about it, but it's something brewing
oh,
in this little,
nice.
How many kids total?
21,
I
maybe?
think.
20, 21?
Yeah,
Senior students,
All
all,
four.
yeah.
all four grades?
All the girls sat on one side and all the boys sat on the other side. This is so high school.
that's funny.
Just like a
That's
name.
great, though.
Yeah.
Just like
I did try to get the
Yeah.
non-talkers to speak up, and there were some that just didn't want to talk much.
That's tough.
It's high school.
By the end of it, though, we got the majority of them spoke at least
Yeah.
once.
Yeah, certain topics, yeah, really.
Cool.
Yeah, we had talked about they want more community events. I think they really liked like Oktoberfest, so something like that that's more like seasonal or like a parade, or they'd mentioned a fair in Woodstock, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that, but yeah.
It's the oldest one in the country, I think.
Yeah, so like was it an agricultural fair in Woodstock? Fireworks, they said there's no fireworks in town. They just things to get out.
Yeah. You used to
Yeah.
have the parade.
We did have fireworks.
Yeah, they want a
That's what it
return of like a community parade.
But there was nothing to do. Like,
I know.
one of them made the comment,
Yeah.
you want to go to the pizza shop? No, not this one, the next one, you know? Like,
Yeah,
there's
which
not much to do in Douglas, and they were, like, if they want to hang out, they'll go up to Millbury, and the shops up there.
The mall.
At the mall, yeah. Yeah.
But then, there's
Yeah.
a lot of trouble with that malls.
Well, they mentioned the Riverwalk, too, the Riverwalk in Northbridge as an example of a really cool municipal resource that they liked the idea of that, and it would be good to have something
And that was right
similar.
across from their school.
Yep.
Yeah,
area,
yeah.
Linwood Ave.
I think they had the walk there, they just put that new boardwalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The walk's been there for a while.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
Boardwalk.
Just the bridge
Boardwalk
piece,
is-
yeah.
Yeah, the trail's been up and down.
What else? Oh, they brought up a lack of like part-time job opportunities, which I thought was really interesting. So, you know, they're young, they don't have any source of income, they're relying on their parents, so they would really like,
Did you talk to the teachers about that, if they're offered, you know, that opportunity, or do they, it's not even, you know, the community isn't invited to give them a job by the
I think there just aren't businesses, you know, like, you have to go down to Millbury to like work at Target part-time or something
Oh,
like
that
that.
kind
That kind of job, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, just
And
any
Gregory's
kind of,
always looking for help, but
Yeah.
they can't get anybody.
yeah, so maybe there's a disconnect, like there are job opportunities, but how do
Because the thing
you
is,
connect?
You know, if you're cutting a knife,
sandwich.
sandwich with a knife, well, then you gotta be 18, you know? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
When some of the
Yeah, the labor laws are
with
really strict.
labor laws,
Pouring alcohol.
Greg's was my first job at 14.
yeah.
And the first night there, he had me folding pizza boxes for 6 hours
There you go.
to make sure that I'd come back the next night. That's how he weeded out whether or not you were worth,
Yeah, they're worthy.
whether or not you were worth hanging on to. But it's true, in town, you've got the pizza places, you've got the library, but there really isn't any other places you can work in town.
In the summertime, the
Ice cream lady.
water slides, they
Water slide
hire
and
a
ice
lot of
cream.
kids.
Yeah.
My grandson's graduating from college, and he's going back again this summer to get a job because he loves the water slide so much.
They do, but one of the kids was saying, like, he only knows one other kid that has a job in town. So I don't know where all those water slide kids are coming from, but, I mean, there's like, they mentioned like the Dunkin', like that's one of the only employers.
Got the ice cream lady in the growing season,
Yep.
whereas retail is 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, they also talked about limited parking downtown, road improvements, traffic, like the truck traffic going through downtown, something we've like talked about numerous times here, so definitely a big concern. I think they mentioned potholes.
That's seasonal too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all season.
There was that one crosswalk. One of the students specifically requested that the crosswalk by the post office and the pizza place there, it should have like a flashing beacon. Like he even said that, like like a sign there, because like you have to wait a few minutes every single time you're trying to cross that street whenever there's traffic.
Well, at that bottleneck,
Yeah.
probably, goodness stores.
Yeah, the one I find tough coming west is the one that crosses in front of Douglas House of Pizza. You almost can't even see the crosswalk itself. It's like it just blends in with the road and 50 years of
Can the highway department
Driving.
fix that?
I'm going to ask a question about more reflective paint,
Yeah.
like a brighter paint. Because Memorial Day, they're going to be painting them again. You know, they look great for a little while, but wears out quick. But
Problem too, with the
At an expense.
crosswalks is you're standing behind a parked car.
Right,
Cross,
right.
and you're not seeing.
9 times out of 10, you don't
the
see someone
person,
until
but if you
you're
can
right
see
by
the
them.
crosswalk, your eyes are drawn, okay, there might be
Right.
someone crossing.
Right.
If there's no warning saying, hey, there's a crosswalk
Right.
here. And I go over, everybody goes over it daily, you know, and just make notice that it just seems dark right in that particular spot.
We did put up signs, the
Mhm.
highway did put up signs, those green reflective signs on
Mhm.
the sides.
Mhm.
But I agree, someone should press the button and light up.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
And I go through town, and it's always dark, because I'm never out on time, except days like this, but I'm constantly scanning. You don't know when somebody's going
But-
to scoot out from Greg's.
You know
or,
where they
you
are,
know,
yeah.
It's just,
At one
It's a
time, they
tough-
had one right just at the end of Greg's and where that gas station is.
Yeah.
And I was standing, a car came up, saw a kid standing there to cross the crosswalk. He stopped, but the other truck was coming and had no idea. I thought that kid was going to be killed. I went back, I said to Shirley, move that crosswalk.
Yeah.
They did, they moved it.
move it down.
A few years ago, I was on a rail trail going down to Rhode Island, and where the trail crossed, there was a bucket attached to a telephone pole that had red flags in it, and a bucket on the other side. You would take the flag, and as
When
you
you
walk,
cross.
wave the flag, put it in the other bucket.
Anything,
I thought it
right?
was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was a good idea.
That is, because I know if I'm trying to cross the street or if I'm driving, I don't see the people, they're standing there like they're paralyzed. They're not moving, they know they want to cross. I'm trying to figure, are they crossing or are they just standing there daydreaming?
Exactly.
You know, they're waiting for the traffic to stop so they can cross. Well,
Part of it is the pedestrian needs to make some sort of
Commitment.
effort to show that, yes,
Right.
I'm crossing.
yeah,
But-
Yeah.
And that, the red flag.
yeah.
Well, I am officially an old lady now because I was trying to cross over by the pizza place there, and a young woman came over and walked me across the street. Ma'am, let me help you.
You let her,
That's
right?
awesome, though. You don't, stuff you don't see, you know?
That could be a part-time job for the kids. Cross people.
Crosswalk Dorito, the Kmart Dorito.
What you're talking about with the lights, where you have to press the button and the lights come up, I worked in Natick, and downtown Natick is exceptionally heavy traffic. And they had those with the crosswalks, with the lights on either side of the street, that when you press the button, the lights would start to flash. And it's something that, it's twofold. One, it's giving a warning to the traffic, and number two, it being enforced by local police. That was something that in the beginning, there was a big enforcement effort to support making sure that people observed the
Crosswalks.
the crosswalks and the light. And so it was something that it became almost second nature at that point. You'd see somebody hit that light, and the cars would automatically stop, no matter how many. And because, like I said, Natick is very, very heavy traffic, but they would all stop because of that. Because it was twofold. It was the warning, and then in the beginning there was police enforcement.
Okay, another one was for better communication, they recommended, I don't know if you can do this, but they said to put it on the voter registration, like have a little checkbox to put your email on it.
To get updates.
Yeah, that was like
Going on in the town.
that was a request, but
Yeah.
something like that to better communicate things to the town.
Yeah, they said they use Instagram. They don't use Twitter.
No, they don't. They're not even comfortable using Instagram at the schools anymore. They specifically just use.
Well, the kids use Instagram.
Oh, the kid. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
kids
That's
use
true.
Instagram.
Yeah. So they were actually. They had an issue with the school not using Instagram because they felt like that would be like a good opportunity, but the school is afraid of like, the
Wading
people
into,
commenting.
wading
Yeah.
into
Fine.
the issues of the day.
That email address, though, sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah.
Even if they could send something out to the, when they send the tax bill. I mean, it's a voluntary thing, you don't have to do it. But, a lot of people might be interested in what's going on.
The thing is, too, most of these events that go on are by private parties, put on town land. So like, we have a lot of stuff up at the Common. Town isn't doing it, they're just letting these people use the
Right.
Common.
As far as, like, when they say to be able to communicate, like, a lot of times, people say, I never knew that law was coming in. Because, we don't have the newspaper coverage we used to have. There used to be, reporters would be all at these meetings. There's no newspaper coverage. So you don't get that. Nobody gets the newspaper. So, and then Facebook, you don't know what to believe on that thing.
Yeah.
So if it was, just emails coming up, this is what's happening, this is what's going to be at the town meeting, or this, like your input on this, I think that's a fantastic idea, to be able to communicate with people what's going on.
That would be a full-time job for somebody. All these little events.
Or even just a little, like you say in the tax bill, a note tax, and, they can tune into the,
Right.
or check out the town's
But-
website itself. It would kind of,
If we could send it with the tax
can go
bill
there.
saying, this is our website, go in there and give your email address. And then the town would have all the email addresses, if you want to,
if they,
obviously.
well, yeah.
And the library's putting out like you guys.
So the library does this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I get that.
we do like all the events, and we're trying to like put in like some type of highlight or some type of thing. So if there was something in the town that needed to be
Right.
highlighted, we could. And then if, like, when it comes time for the town warrant, we'll hyperlink to the town warrant so people can see it right there. That's one of the things we're doing. We're creating the hyperlink so people can get right to it, so that they're not having to search through the different things.
Okay, but what you need is, you need to get people's email addresses.
And
That's-
I mean, we're putting it out on Facebook, we're
Yeah.
putting it out as many places as we can, but it's how do you get them?
What about the tax bill? Have you tried that yet?
Well, it's up to the town on whether or not because technically it's the library, so I'm not sure if they can do something like that. I mean, so we did it, so the library does a newsletter, that's the Douglas Way, which is the library's newsletter, and we have about 700 people who subscribe to that. And when we did the Douglas Mill, we had sent it out to all of those people, and we're like, if you want to keep receiving this, subscribe. And that's how we did it. And we got about 150, and we slowly crept up since then, putting it on Facebook, continuing to put the subscribe link on there.
Somebody has to tell people, this is where you find out information.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get it on the town website, pretty much.
Right.
You'd have to go to the library.
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, and anybody who's looked at it has said that they found it useful. I've actually talked to a couple of people randomly who've like, oh, I was able to find this through that. So I mean, we're getting some traction, we just don't know where else to get it out there. So I kind of think that's what the kids want. And if we got more traction, we would know what more people want and we'd be able to provide more information.
So that just doesn't have board meetings on it. It has
No, it's got the-
like events in town and
But it-
not even involved with the,
No, it's got
Town.
so the,
well, like the Hummingbird Festival.
Yep,
that's
it's got
supposed
the-
to have-
so-
Okay, so that's
yeah,
pretty broad.
it's got the Adult Social
Yeah.
Center, anything at the Common, the Historical Society.
Well, that's town. I'm talking about other than
Historical, what do you mean other than town?
She's talking about like private event holders.
Yeah, like-
you
Well,
get
that's up to them.
That's historical.
like up at the Orchard.
Yeah, the Orchard and Farm is on there.
Okay, so it isn't just
Yeah,
town stuff.
basically,
All right,
if
yeah.
you get a hold of us and you tell us this event is going on, we put it on there. We're also putting on
Yeah.
stuff like, it was.
So that is out there. They
Yeah.
just, the school kids just don't know about it.
Yeah, it's getting, it's out there now, it's getting, the fact that it's out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The other thing for oh, did you want to say?
No.
Okay. For communication, there's like that big one. Do you want to talk about it?
I don't remember.
They want to have someone from the town staff or like a select member. They want them to come to the school like once a month to like get together with like a group of students that are interested in civic engagement. To do you like that idea?
I love that.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
To you get the kids together and talk about the issues going on in town and like provide updates and stuff. So
Yeah, we talked about a bunch of different like ideas for that. If it could be like have like a little booth like station or something. They just want to know like what's going on, how do decisions are being made.
I nominate Matt for that.
Sign up.
Yeah. So and they were really enthused about this.
No,
Like
yeah.
there was a lot of nodding heads. Like yeah, cool.
The kids that were pulled, were they pulled from government class? Were they?
No,
or
it
were
was
they
just a random assortment.
Randomly selected?
Yeah, it was the principal worked with the guidance counselor who really knows like the students, and we were saying we really want just kind of a cross section of good, not just all like high honors students, not all seniors, like just across the board. So I think it was a good focus group. Yeah, anything else? They were happy that you can have chickens in your backyard. So anything we can do to make sure we can keep the chickens in the backyard. And they love having the trails nearby, state forest, so it wasn't all like criticism, like yeah.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
the road going up to the kindergarten, someone was complaining that there's no lights there, and a lot of students are using that for commuting, but it can be completely dark past 5.
That's in Gleason Court.
Is that the one he was talking about?
Yeah,
Be up there.
the school.
Why would the high schooler commute up that hill though at night?
They might cut through,
Right.
because obviously, well, there's a trail from the middle school that goes through the woods up to the high school. So they might come up Gleason Court, go through those schools, cut through the woods to get to the high school.
It's a cross-country trail. They run on it.
The
But
actual,
I'd rather have them doing that than walking down 16.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
They would love like any kind of gym. A lot of them go to Planet Fitness in Webster. So any kind of like exercise facility or like more just like parks, playgrounds, dog park someone brought up.
More historical, cultural tourism.
Yeah. A public like town swimming area. We talked about this, I think, at the last meeting too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said like pretty much like all the water bodies are private.
Yeah. Or like there's a lot of out-of-towners coming in, so it's like they can't even get to
all on like,
the swimming
yeah.
areas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exercise facility in town was a popular one. Like everybody goes to Planet Fitness in Webster apparently. And then there was a mention of like providing more information to homeowners about like clean energy things, like putting solar PV on their roofs. As an alternative to having like big solar farms that everybody complains about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that pretty much.
Will you be able to share your notes with us?
Yeah, I'll type something up. Yeah, that can.
I know you have one more workshop coming up at the end of the month at the.
Yeah, so we talked with, so I'll note about that. We talked with Patrice, and apparently no one really like signed up or like had like interest in doing like another workshop. I guess the seniors kind of feel like, okay, they came to the community workshop in the fall, they did the survey, like they kind of feel like they already provided their input. So I think we're gonna have to hit pause on that one. I think there will be more opportunity for like input, like maybe later down the line, like in the fall or winter, something like that. Kind of once we've like crafted like chapters, goals, things like that. And then maybe we can go back, have like a small workshop there and get their input. But I think for now, they feel like they said their input. So can't force it, we tried. But yeah, that was my feedback from Patrice, unfortunately.
I think that pretty much covers like all the.
Yeah, so that was that. Also, we had the student survey out. So I have the results so far. We got 156 responses from the high schoolers.
Nice.
So I have the results if you want to like kind of just look through them.
That's the majority of the high school.
Yeah.
How many are there?
256, I think, was the number.
Yeah, it was like 250.
So it's more than half, yeah.
Let me share online also.
Pretty even distribution across the grades. Slightly more underclassmen.
Want to pass these back around?
Sure.
Those are all extras.
These are extras.
Great, thanks.
Oh, that's okay.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, the last thing people talked about a lot at the workshop was also athletic fields, and like, this was seconded by the principal. We saw him in person, but they want to have like a turf field. That can like sort of, a lot of the athletic activities can be focused around.
I don't follow that statement.
They want a turf field like to go somewhere. For
Field?
a turf.
Turf.
Turf grass, yeah. It's like an artificial field that,
Well, they have that at the new elementary, I think.
I think they wanted it like one for the high
Track and
schoolers.
everything there.
I don't know.
Does the high school play on a turf field? Football? Soccer?
Yeah, they said they wanted like and this was the principal was saying that there was a
The
lack
last school
of.
we built, I think it was the elementary.
Not official turf.
I think
Yeah,
they're talking
yeah.
about AstroTurf. I don't think that one's got AstroTurf. It's got little
It's got a
grass.
big track.
Right.
And in the middle is,
Is grass,
oh, is it?
yeah.
Yeah, they wanted turf. I guess it's better for playing.
Tell them to start
I
working.
thought it was
and
more
give us money.
painful than regular grass.
Yeah.
They need the part-time jobs.
Get part-time jobs.
Apparently, like a lot of like different sports teams will go to another town to use their turf field because they just see it as a better alternative to the grass for some things.
I find it interesting that almost 10% of the respondents either never lived in Douglas or used to live in Douglas, but yet they're students of the high school.
School choice.
School choice, right.
It seems like a high percentage to me of,
Does the
almost
town get
10%.
money when you school choice in? Or do you have to pay? I always forget.
It's both.
You
Yeah.
get money for school choice in, and then you pay
In-
for school choice out.
Yeah. Money in, money
So
out.
it kind of balances out, maybe?
Well, it kind of, the way that they run the thing is that when the school choice goes out, the town has to pay for it, but when the money comes in, the school department gets to keep the money, and then they can decide how they want to spend it. And that's always a bit of a little conversation at the Finance Committee.
No, okay, so this was middle and high school. Oh, no.
No, it's just high school.
Yeah,
We did send it out to the middle school.
Yeah, we've sent it out to the middle school. I just haven't heard back yet, so.
On question 3, there's 156 kids completed the survey. 43 said yes, 94 said no, and you said 2 skipped. That doesn't equal 156. Was there a third answer? Because that's 139, 143, 94, and 2. So I was just wondering.
Didn't answer.
3 of 20.
3 of
Page
28.
28, question 3. You said there were 2 that skipped the question. So I was just wondering, between yes and no, that's 137.
3 plus 4. Could they
Yeah, I think they can
answer
just-
multiple?
Oh, it says they, okay, this.
Or maybe they didn't answer it because it's only,
I think they could have,
89% also.
yeah, so it was yes, no, if no, why not? So some of them hit no, and they entered a typed response. That makes sense?
He's wondering what the discrepancy is between the,
Just yes and no comes out to 137.
but it
Maybe
says only
some
2 people
didn't.
skipped.
Maybe some didn't, they only typed if no, why not? They didn't even hit yes or no. They went straight to typing their answer out. You can pull up the survey.
The percentages come out to 99, but the the numbers don't come out to.
I love how they complain about school lunches. People have been complaining about school lunches for,
Since I was a kid, for God's sake.
yeah, like, those aren't changing. Sorry, suck it up.
answered yes.
Chippy tooth on a grilled cheese.
Follow-up response.
Yeah.
When it was pizza day, we
And you'll-
celebrated.
And you liked it.
Right. Yeah, but it doesn't explain why.
I don't know.
Yeah, could you pull it up on SurveyMonkey to see if they explain that?
Right.
Sorry, no sympathy.
Because the next one, it makes sense. It says
sharing
like
my
132
screen,
answered, 24 skipped. That makes sense, but then maybe the skipped is cut off. Wait, no, because it says answered 154.
Yeah, so just something, I just happened to quickly notice the math just didn't make sense to me. You don't have to look at it right this second, just something.
We'll have to, yeah, we'll get back to you on that, I guess. 'Cause that is strange.
Wow. We need to crush BBT so that Douglas can get more funding because we need it.
I read that today. I was like, what does that mean? Crush them in sports?
No, I think it means get, wow. That,
It serves a
The
purpose.
problem that we have, or what people are not happy about, I guess I will say, is that BBT seems to get everything that they want. And it costs us twice as much to send a kid to BBT as it does to Douglas.
we don't have a say. That's the
We
problem.
have a say, there are 13 representatives,
Right.
one from each town.
Right.
That's on that board.
Right.
So if those 13 people choose not to speak up or fight
Right.
about it,
But I guess the problem is it's a representative, the town as a whole.
I don't know who picks the representative or how that representative is decided upon by each town, but each town has a representative on that board.
Right. The thing is, and then when the
Voted.
budget comes up, if, was it 13, if 7 out of the 13 vote for it, then
Just
you
sharing my screen.
all have to pay for it.
That's right.
So,
Or you could,
They discussed that last night.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. 9 we needed.
was it 9?
Possibly 9, but
Two-thirds.
it might be,
I forget
I
how
thought
it
it was
goes.
9. I thought it was 7, but I think it was 9.
Yeah, something corrected,
It's two-thirds.
Yeah,
which is two-thirds.
Yeah. yeah.
Can't the high school offer co-op for the students there without having all the fancy laboratory equipment like BVT does? Just as a pilot program, just get a few kids out there working with the local profession and co-op. I mean, because I hire BVT students all the time, and I tell you, they're way ahead of everybody else when they get out of high school.
Right.
Just by working in my little office, just learning how to write letters and just, real life stuff. They don't need the real fancy equipment to get out there and get real life experience. So,
It's a fantastic school. It really is.
BVT is?
Oh, yeah,
oh,
BVT
yeah,
is.
well, it's,
And it's like tops of all the trade schools.
right, but I don't understand why the high school here couldn't offer something, just co-op.
Yep.
Co-op.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Margaret, because when we did the tour, I don't know if you remember, Sam, the principal was speaking to that issue, and he said there was limitations on what he could provide because it's offered at BVT when it comes to engineering or any of the trades in terms of funding and curriculum. Was that your?
So, yeah.
Yeah, and he said that was sort of a handicap. That was he felt hamstrung, if you will, in that regard, because they'd like to offer more.
It's too bad,
Yeah.
yeah.
The one that
So
really
they-
kills us is Norfolk Aggie, because that's so far away, and what it costs us to transport the kids and everything. Norfolk Aggie is very expensive. When students decide they want to go there, it really costs us.
The thing is, like Bay Path and
Yeah.
Charlton and DVT, they used to be trade schools. Now they've turned into almost pre-college schools.
Yeah, college prep, engineering prep schools, yeah.
And they're taking away a lot of our good students.
When we were looking to do the override, there was a mother that came to one of the meetings, and she said, I have 3 children. My 2 oldest children graduated from Douglas High School, and they did very well. They got into good colleges, and they're doing very well. But my youngest son is in the 8th grade, and I want to make sure he's going to be able to get into a good college, so I want to send him to VVT. What?
Yeah.
It's not a prep school. It's supposed to be a trade school.
and the thing is, if you want when I was a kid, you wanted your kid to go to a prep school, you paid money to send your kid to a prep school.
Right.
And now, now the town's spending the money to send these kids to a prep school.
Well, the other thing that the town pays for is there's after-school programs for adults. One of them is I guess I'm going to use the word licensed practical nurse, I think is a new word they use for it now. And the town pays for that. Now, these are postgraduate people, and the town pays for it. And they're starting up a new program there this year with, I forget, about 5 or 6 different things after-school programs. The first year, I guess the state's going to pay for it, but they haven't told us who's paying for it after. But we know who they're going to be coming after, and that's more money that's coming out of our budget. And I'm on the finance committee, and I'm going to tell you something, we don't have a lot of money.
Now, whose budget, school budget or town budget?
Town budget. Well, a good question. I'm not sure if it comes out of the school budget or the town budget.
To pay
I
for
can't see-
Valley Tech?
Yeah, for night courses.
Oh,
Because if it's in the school budget, you won't see it.
Well, yeah, we see it at the finance committee.
Yeah, ultimately, it comes
Yeah.
from the taxpayer.
Yeah.
It all comes from the
Right.
taxpayer. I'm not sure. I can't say for sure if the town pays for it or if it comes out of the school budget.
I think Valley
don't know.
Tech is its own
Yeah,
line.
but,
Separate.
we only have so much money to fund everything in the town. So when, it's, where do you get it?
To offer more courses at the
Carol,
town.
I'll be talking about that next Tuesday, because I went to the BVT public meeting
Yeah.
last week.
Oh, good.
Asked a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I was the only representative from the public at their budget subcommittee
Oh,
meeting.
interesting.
There was, the committee was there.
Yeah.
The budget subcommittee was
Yeah.
there, and represented, and like teachers and what have you
Right.
from BVT were
Right,
there.
right.
The 5 o'clock meeting, which is the budget subcommittee
Yeah.
meeting, open to, I was the only member of the public that was there
Oh,
at that
wow.
meeting. And I asked them a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I'll be sharing some of the
Oh, good.
responses I got at next week's finance committee
Oh,
meeting.
great,
Quite
great.
enlightening.
Great, great.
Mr. Chair, may I step out for 1 minute?
Of course.
Thank you.
Emily, Tim, did you have anything else?
No, nothing
on the
else.
survey?
Not on the survey, no. I mean, we'll keep it open. I'll see if the middle school principal is able to get it out. If not, I think this is really helpful.
It's not going to be
I think
modified.
it's fascinating, I really do, especially when you, the last section, was there anything else? I think Rebecca had read a few things out of there, and what's interesting is that there's a lot of road work recommendations. One student said he went out of, focus on fixing the roads, have gone through 3 tires in 2 weeks.
Oh, he must have just got his license.
He doesn't know, we know there's more to that story.
Yeah. He hasn't been driving long, that's for sure.
Gotta quit texting and pay attention to the holes.
Right.
Some of them, I just love the way they answer. So, one says that, was there anything else? And this person wrote, to be honest, I'm not sure. That's such a young, I'm not sure.
I apologize for not knowing this. Does anybody know what PLTW classes stands for?
Which number?
On page 19, number 83, it says, giving the PLTW classes a computer room like they were promised would be nice. So I don't know what PLTW stands for. It says aerospace was supposed to have it, but it never got done over the summer, so we were limited in what we could do. I mean, if you're trying to compete with BVT and you're not giving the kids even simple equipment, computer equipment, that's a bit of a drawback right there.
Project Lead the Way, created by teachers and led by educators, motivates, prepares, and supports teachers as they strive to make every child in every grade STEM literate.
STEM classes.
So it's STEM.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I didn't know what it was either.
Yeah.
Yes, Siri.
Well, thank you. Bring this in,
Yeah, thank you.
Do you know if, when I was in school here, and then both my brothers went to Valley Tech, and in the senior year, they would get you a job somewhere. I know at Douglas High School, they would help you look for a job. Do you know if that is in our schools? It used to be back in the 70s.
So I participate with the school. I've been doing it for 20-some odd years now with what they call a work-study program.
Yeah.
where they'll
At
send-
Douglas?
In Douglas, yeah.
Okay.
They'll send students to my shop, or I'll get a phone call probably the second or third day of school, or the opening days.
Oh.
I generally get a phone call from the guidance counselor, say I got a student or a couple of students. One year I had 9 interested in automotive. Would you welcome them in? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the juniors, they have a job shadow day, and there's one coming up next week. We got one coming in. So there is some sort of program that goes on. The hard part about it is I would say if you're like a mobile contractor, if you're an electrician or a plumber, you only get them during their work-study
Yeah.
Windows.
periods, right? So it's like a 2-class period, and it alternates throughout the day. So I might see my kid, first thing in the morning on a Monday. Thursday might be 11 o'clock, it just as it rotates through their schedule. So if you're an established in-place business, I could see where it would work. And as long as the student has transportation.
Yeah.
But there is some sort of something that they do offer the
Okay.
kids. And like I say, every year, we've got kids that are interested, that come
So
down.
maybe,
Were there many of them that went into the business after? It's nice to know.
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
some of the kids don't even know about this program. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know And I don't know how the other kids find out about it, whether it's just talks amongst the students, goes through the guidance counselor, and, you know.
The highway department used to have students from the high school as like part-time staff, but the funding for that was cut like 10 years ago.
Like a summer job.
Yeah, I don't know if it was seasonal or not, but
That's how the lawn vote, everything got cut, every summer, common, everything, with those kids.
So, any other questions or comments on anything Emily and Sam have gone over so far?
So
Push-
so this will be the end of the student survey?
I'm gonna follow up with the middle school and see if we can get it out there,
Okay.
but we'll see.
So, and another question, are we going to be putting this online?
That was a question I think I had for you all. If we feel comfortable putting responses from students online or not, or if we feel like it should be more just for like this group's eyes.
Good question for the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Well,
it
I mean,
should ask.
I recognized 2 kids based on their responses. You know,
There's no names or anything, but so it,
If I were a kid,
but I think I would run it
see,
past the school.
hey, I'm online, that's my answer, you know, I'd be excited to see
Yeah.
it.
So we'll start with the schools.
Yeah,
And if they're
I'll
okay
ask-
with it, then we can decide.
Okay.
And if we could, before we put it online, let's
Yeah.
read it and motion to allow it to be put online. That way we're not just posting stuff for the world to see and come after us. Oops, our bad.
Yeah, I know, huh?
I don't like so-and-so because he did this.
Yeah, right.
Did they fill out this survey online?
Yeah, it was all online.
Were they able to do it on a cell phone or?
It's a cue card, right?
Yeah, I don't know how, I mean, they filled it out while they were in school,
They
so
all
I don't know if they have
they all have a
laptops
thing?
while they're in school, or
Yeah.
how they.
The only reason why I'm just absolutely amused, on page 21, respondent number 15, they must have used some sort of voice app when they were responding, because the word "like" is in their response about 15 or 20 times.
oh my gosh.
And I think we should have like an official park, like it can be, and it was just over and over. It's just entertaining. It's amusing. So somebody must have found the ability to use some sort of microphone to,
Probably just talking to their phone.
Speak to text.
speech to text to put it in there. But it's just
It's
funny.
amusing, yeah.
It reminds me of one of my kids when they were little. Everything was like.
Like, and stuff and junk.
I cured that with my daughter.
Like kind of.
How did you do that?
Every time she said the word "like," I put my hand up. And she looked and like, there I said it.
I had an English teacher that if we did it, he would just be like, you're not allowed to speak.
No, I did it, and it cured her of it, and she went on to a career in television. She's a meteorologist on TV, so,
Excellent. Great.
Wow.
yeah, it's kind of funny. Like.
So,
Anecdotes,
All right, so
sorry.
next I have,
anything on visioning statement or goals and objectives? I don't know if you want to go over.
sort of, I think this kind of relates to it.
Okay.
So I just have like a kind of summarized anticipated timeline for the project. So it just goes through kind of month by month. Now, I'll have to go back and edit it now that we're getting rid of the April 30th meeting and putting in a June 25th meeting, so I can amend that. I think that's the only change.
Oh, I'm doing, taking them all, instead of passing them out. There you go.
Now I got them all.
Got it? Okay, great. So in general,
Down that way.
I guess we have some.
what are we in, March? Yeah, so today we'll be starting with vision statement development. So I had given some handouts at the last meeting just to give you like a primer on kind of what a vision statement is. So I'll go over those again, and then we can kind of dig into beginning the process of creating a vision statement for the plan. The next step will be to begin to kind of create these core principles, which I'll have kind of more information on at the next meeting, but it's kind of a new thing we're trying at CMRPC with our master plans is instead of like lists and lists of like goals, we're going to create like we're calling like a core principle or a core value. And so we'll have more actionable items that will align across the chapters with, achieving what like this core principle is. So I know that's very vague, but I'll have more information on that and like handouts for the next meeting. So that essentially will take a couple meetings. And then in June, we will begin to have our like chapter writers at CMRPC come in. They're going to probably take about an hour to kind of present their key findings, data collection, probably suggested strategies, and then we can have a discussion on, and if you have any like questions for this person who's like kind of like the expert chapter writer and really wants to hear from you if there's any particular things that should be included in the chapter. They won't be writing the entire, chapter of the plan at this point. They're kind of hitting on the key parts that should be written out and described in the chapter later on. But that's kind of, so basically each meeting we will focus on one like chapter element and we'll have like a discussion and presentation and everything. And so that should take us through, I think it was, October. Yep, October. Then by October, November, we will have like actual full drafts of the chapters for you all to read. We'll figure out a good way to kind of review and edit that. I haven't exactly thought that through yet. But what makes the most sense, if it's we send out the chapter 2 weeks ahead, you come prepared with edits, we'll figure out a good way that works for this group. And then we'll dig into the implementation matrix, which is basically kind of like a grid of all of the strategies that are recommended, and then we'll have recommended like timeline for accomplishment, like what boards, committees, staff should be assigned to it, kind of how much generally each one would cost the town, or any other like information that you would want included in this implementation matrix. So when, boards are kind of looking at this a year or two from now down the line, they're trying to figure out, what should we be like working on as a committee, as a board. They don't have to read through necessarily the entire plan. They can go right to this implementation matrix and kind of see what their priorities should be. So that will take a few meetings as well. At some point too, we want to talk about maybe doing some kind of community engagement, maybe another workshop, just to get feedback from the public, like, okay, we heard you from the survey, from the other workshops, we put this into, the chapters, the full plan, what do you think? Does this reflect what you want it to look like and what your goals are? So we can talk about that more kind of down the line. And then this will need to be approved, I'm assuming it should be approved by both the planning board and the board of selectmen. So we're thinking in March of next year, a year from now, we'll present the plan to both, hopefully like a joint meeting of both those boards, and then they'll have kind of like a month to think about it, and then at their subsequent meetings in April, they can vote to approve the plan, and then it should be done by May. So hopefully that all goes according to plan, but it's okay if things take a little bit longer or we finish certain things quicker, but anticipated, this is what we're thinking the timeline's gonna look like.
I have a dumb question. The Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board approve it? Does it go to the town meeting and approve it? No.
Doesn't need to.
It has in the past, though.
It doesn't, it's not something that's necessary. Technically, only the planning board needs to approve it, because it's under statute, it's the planning board's
To
document.
adopt, to have the town adopt the master plan?
Yes.
Because the master plan, last one did go to town meeting.
If you guys want to do that, that's fine, but,
I don't know, but it did.
yeah,
Because
okay,
the town clerk had called me one weekend,
okay.
a month or two ago, and asked if it ever went to town meeting. And
Okay.
then the,
Make for a very large warrant.
did.
Town votes it
And it got
down.
approved. I mean, it would be nice if it got approved at town meeting, why not? I mean, it's only a warrant article.
What would it mean if
Cost
it
us
was
anything.
not approved?
That's the question.
Yeah, indeed.
That's the question.
The question, I
It's a
think,
great stamp of approval if it does, but if it
I
doesn't.
should have shared online.
Any thoughts on
We'd
that?
have to rename it the non-master plan.
master non-plan.
Minor plan.
I'm curious, Matt, what the statutory requirement is for it? Is
Yeah,
it
it's the planning board's
simply the planning
responsibility.
board?
Yeah, their statute, yes.
Of course, that's how we get the word out, letting everyone know that all the hard work was done, and not at some remote planning board meeting that only 2 people,
Well, we are considering,
you know?
we were considering having a workshop after the plan is, after the chapters are done, to sort of like review it with the community and like provide like last minute input before fully finalizing the plan. So that would be a good opportunity for community members to see all the progress that's been made. It's how all the chapters came together.
How would the community be invited to this? I know the last time we did that postcard thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we can talk about that if that worked. We could send out another postcard. Yeah, that would probably be more like the fall, winter, something like that, holding a workshop. Yeah. Does that sound good to folks? I'm happy to amend anything.
Just keep in mind, you've got double workload in April when we just moved the meeting to June.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
3 months, there'll be a little slide.
Yeah, so I'll have to adjust that.
I'm reading straight out of MGL 41, Section 81D. Reads, just such plan shall be made and may be added to or changed from time to time by a majority vote of such planning board and shall be public record. Planning board shall, upon completion of any plan report or change in amended plan, report produced under this section, furnished a copy of such plan or report or amended thereto, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Doesn't say anything about town meeting or city council or anything. Just the planning board does it by a vote.
Have you just recently completed a master plan with another town? Was it Brookfield?
Yeah, we've done a few, but I don't recall any that have been brought to town meeting that we've done.
Yeah, no.
Not that I know of.
Boy, we can decide on that later anyway.
Sure.
See how it looks before we send that. Sounds good. Okay, so
So, any other questions or comments on the schedule as presented?
No, it's great.
Okay.
I like that.
okay. Next, we can actually get into vision statement development. Okay, let me pull this up. Do folks still have the handouts that I gave at the end of the previous meeting? 'Cause I
This one?
Yep, that, and the like one pager, well, 2 pager, I guess.
Like-
You want it?
This one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
I'm down.
Sure.
See you all set. I need some.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have it.
Yep, I've got it.
I don't either.
She's got it up on board.
Yeah, follow along if you can't see. I've also got a few extra, these, you need them. They're just stapled a weird way, so you might want to take the staple out. I don't know what happened in the printer.
Think of one more.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Looks like I can get-
Yeah.
Hope you.
Yeah, I got 2 more. Okay, okay. Gordon gets it.
All set.
We're all set. Thank you.
Sorry, too many.
Okay.
Back. There you go.
Okay, let's see if I can make this a little bigger. Vision statement. Okay. All right, so So the vision statement is kind of this, the way to identify the community's kind of purpose, its values, and kind of how it sees itself in the future. It typically lays out what the town's going to look like in a physical sense, socially, environmentally, in 5, 10, or 20 years. We want it to be kind of a positive thing that emphasizes the community's assets, and assesses community options and opportunities. So kind of the parts that go into a vision statement, it should be present tense language, positive. It makes the reader feel like the town's uniqueness, and it should be inclusive of the town's diverse population. It should have a focus on the people, the quality of life, and should have like a stated time period. Other elements that contribute to a good vision statement: brevity, it should be brief but definitive. Clarity, it should be clear and precise. It should have a future orientation, focusing on the long-term perspective of the town and its environment. Stability, it should be general enough not to be affected by short-term changes in the market or technology. Challenge, it should motivate the town to work towards a desirable outcome. Abstractness, it should represent a general idea as opposed to a specific achievement that can be met and then discarded. And desirability, or ability to inspire. So it should express an ideal that the town finds worth working towards. So those are just some kind of resources that I've found when reading about vision statements and how other communities have kind of shaped a good, solid vision statement. So I had also included a few examples of other towns, so we can kind of, if there's a specific community that,
So much for brief.
well, have you read the one from 1998? That one's, yeah, so these are usually like 3 paragraph or so. These are kind of ones that we've worked on with other communities most recently. And then the one-page handout shows a bit longer vision statement than I would like. So I don't know. I'm thinking if we can kind of go through the previous vision statement from 1998, kind of pick out elements that we really like, maybe things that have been achieved, maybe things we want to continue to aspire towards, and see if we can get it a little bit more condensed. If there's other language we kind of want updated, things like that. And if there's a certain format, I guess, that you would prefer, or if we like kind of, I mean, the previous format was Douglas in the year 2020. Maybe we want to say Douglas in the year 2040, something like that.
The one I got last meeting has 6 pages. I'm the same. Do you have another one of those, the extras that we passed around? with the-
Not from, I don't know
This
why.
one right here. I don't have half of what everybody else is looking at.
Oh, yeah.
I have 6 pages from the last meeting, too.
Yeah, because I hadn't put in, so basically, all I did was take the vision statement from 1998 and I made it a little more legible. So I broke it into paragraphs and put it into the PowerPoint presentation. Just because I might go into this, I might type and highlight things. So how does that sound if we kind of start by going through the previous one?
Okay.
And see what we like about it, or dislike about it, or can reduce. Did everyone get a chance to kind of read through examples of other communities? Do we like kind of the format that maybe Mendon did?
I mean, I thought, I think Rutland points for trying to be different, but I didn't get to that format.
Right.
Got it, okay, so we don't like
Yeah.
Rutland,
It's
really.
kind of almost impersonal, it's bullet points.
Yeah.
Town of Hopedale, just the opening sentence, is to preserve a small-town character and state and development. I mean, that's eye-catching right there. That's us. Town of Mendon, same thing.
Yeah.
you look at our 1998, and it's got none of that.
Narrative.
Talking about small town and character and the atmosphere,
Yeah.
and preserving it.
I suggest take that 1998 and scrap it. Start from scratch instead of amending it. Nothing in there I like.
Nothing.
Let me see, where is it?
Gotta be something.
What I do like about the 98 one is it's talking a lot about like anticipated patterns of development, which I don't necessarily think is good to have in the vision statement, but maybe we could take something like that and put it into like the land use chapter or something, and something we could maybe create like a map, like this is an area where there should be more commercial development, and this is where we anticipate more multifamily housing, something like that. I just don't think it belongs in the vision statement.
I do like your premise, I'm sorry, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I like your premise that less is more. It's more readable, more condensed.
One statement I do like in the 98 one is, these qualities include our distinct villages, historic structures, open lands, and rural roads, all which must be protected if we want to enhance our community character, which is the second sentence after Douglas in the year 2020. I do like that line.
Which one are you in, 1998?
We're 1998.
Wait,
On which page?
I'm on
Page 9.
I'm on the original, this one here.
Page-
Yeah.
Okay.
Page
You're
9.
the night, you can
Page 9
keep
of
reading
this.
that 1998 master plan.
Page 9 of this.
And then page 9,
It's the second
these
sentence.
qualities include distinct villages, historic structures, open lands, rural roads.
I like that one line.
All right, going to maybe highlight that.
Bob, did you say you had something?
No, I was just thinking that paragraph could be a third paragraph.
Okay, say the line again. Is it the
Starts on the
first?
second line there where the sentence starts with these qualities.
Got it. Let's highlight that.
Because I do think, like, from the round table and all that kind of stuff, I do feel like that's a lot of what did come back from people. I know there was a lot of other things they wanted, but that was what they
Small town
did
charm and
like
character.
about
Yeah.
it. So I think that is a good line.
I mean, I think some of this is pretty good, frankly. Yeah. Which page are you on now, Bob?
Yeah, but isn't mention of these sort of an indication that we intend to protect it? It's a assertion of character, and then by mention, and obviously it's going to be part of what we're trying to protect. I'm nervous at looking at a vision statement that's 2 full pages. You know, I think brevity and the exercise of editing ruthlessly allows you to build up from what really become your base priorities. And this is just a lot.
I said, I just pulled out the one sentence
Yeah.
that stood out. I mean, I think that one paragraph, I think, does, out of everything, that one paragraph is, I feel like that one paragraph sets up the rest of the entire, where they just kept going.
Yeah, and the important thing, as I look at it, is distinct villages, historic structures, open lands, and rural roads.
But then they went to explain everything that they just said.
Yeah, which feels like a lot. This is almost
Say
like,
it needs to be a vision statement, not a vision novel.
You know, I don't know if
it's a vision chapter, it's a vision chapter, yeah. Yeah.
On page 14 of this document, the first sentence there reads, "Douglas Farms, open fields, and natural resources will continue to be a vital part of its character, economy, and social life." Kind of builds off of the one that Rebecca pointed out.
a lot of us don't have that page.
So it's in like the
Oh,
original.
14,
You just-
14,
you gotta-
sorry.
Second
Yeah.
page,
you just gotta
third
graph
paragraph.
through.
Yeah, the
14.
Yeah. So it'd be a second full paragraph.
So Douglas Farms, open fields, and natural resources will continue to be a vital part of its character. That's true, but how do you protect it?
Yeah, the fields are now becoming house lots.
Well, that's right, so how do you stop that?
You can't.
You really couldn't.
And now they're going to be 2 houses.
That's correct, that's correct. And so you just look over the last 20 years, the development on these back roads, and no wonder the roads are crumbling, because they weren't built to handle the traffic, you know? So,
And the strategies part of each of the chapters should support more of the how do we get to this
Oh, okay.
vision of the
Got
future.
it.
So this is kind of what do you want to see, and then the chapters and then the following recommendations will be how do we get there?
And the paragraph right after the one Margaret just pointed out, Douglas will serve as a gateway for visitors traveling to the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. I also think that might, just trying to bring in like that visitor aspect, that's not a bad one either. It's almost like the first parts of some of the paragraphs have merit.
I think personally, I think the whole first paragraph kind of hits it.
What if that's the statement?
That's what I mean.
this paragraph right
The
here,
whole first paragraph.
With a little bit of editing.
Well, it just kind of says it all right there.
well,
This is the
Douglas
same.
will continue to grow. I guess we should say we would like Douglas to grow in a manner, correct? I mean,
We envision Douglas growing.
there you go.
Yeah.
Envision,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah, so yeah, some edits and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
rewording, but I think it kind of smacks it right there.
Will we have an opportunity to look at this over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, this is just a start, and then
Okay,
we'll
sure.
continue it in the next meeting too.
So we'll
Okay.
continue to revisit and look at the.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We don't need to decide anything today.
Referring to Douglas contains many qualities?
Yes.
Yeah, that whole
The
paragraph.
entire,
Yeah, that whole paragraph.
that one.
But some of the stuff that they put in here never came to be.
No.
Like on page 11 is kind of interesting. It says, "Small-scale mixed-use developments will be located to the west of Douglas Center and north and south of Route 16 at the Webster Town line." Well, that didn't happen because they took it all for the state forest, except for a little chunk. We actually, were you on the master plan when we had the whole plan developed for that area up at Route 16, up where the windmills and everything were going to go? Were you in there,
No,
Bob?
that's.
I remember the wind.
Yeah.
That we're at Douglas Social Center.
Right, but we had, I think it was Carter Burgess did a whole plan on us, showing development in that area, and then the state came and bought it all for the state forest, so that ended that. So that was a big amount of commercial development that they wanted out of, not right downtown, but never happened.
That saved us from the mega dump, though.
Well, that was long after the mega dump, that we did that Carter Burgess thing. That was long after the mega dump. That was long gone. But they took.
The mega dump was early 90s, mid 90s.
Right, but right to the Webster line, going back, all of that property over there, we actually had a grant, we had a whole thing on how that could have been developed. And, and that didn't happen. But then the other thing, they're talking about Castletop area and down in area on South Street and possibly a new school site. Well, we're kind of over-schooled now. We got more buildings than what we need.
We'll say, too, that just the land up on Webster Road that's A lot of ledge, I mean, that's
You know what?
serious.
That doesn't stop anybody
It
today.
doesn't,
Are you
and-
kidding?
and-
They're buying ledge now, because they don't have
You're right.
gravel.
You're
Ledge is,
right. You're
they're
right.
buying it and crushing it, so
Yeah.
it's no
No, you're
longer an
right.
impediment. It's actually, oh,
Yeah.
they've got
Yeah.
stone there?
As good as gold, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
it's gonna go, so, you know, things that we
we're gonna
thought were so bad.
Circle back to visioning.
Okay, well, we're going on the master plan, all right, sorry about that.
One thing that I liked is that all these bits and pieces are great, but that the previous one was just too expansive. And I liked one of these in Hopedale. I just interpreted 3 simple sections. Town description, current resources, future goals. That was the 3 paragraphs.
It's Hopedale.
Oh, amended, excuse me.
Oh, the amendment.
Okay,
Sorry.
and then-
Yeah, I like amended.
And I think that's
Yeah.
what they suggested, is simple is better.
Yep.
Remember, the Gettysburg Address was written on the back of an envelope.
Yeah,
We can simplify. I think whoever spoke before, Lincoln spoke for
Spoke
3
for an
hours.
hour and
Yeah,
a half or
right,
2
yeah.
hours,
He
yeah.
was a pastor, somebody from Massachusetts, and he said, you said in 2 minutes, I couldn't say in 3 hours. So, anyway, that doesn't help our visioning thing. Interesting to note.
I actually agree with Rich on this, but amended is simple.
yeah.
Pretty simple to the point, and hits the right points.
And I think you have to be careful what you promise, and you can aspire, but when we talk about open spaces and everything that we're used to, well, most of that's private property.
Yeah,
It may change.
Yeah,
as it did.
You look at
Especially as
conservation
generations
land and,
come on, you know?
you know, town land, that's what, in years to come, 20, 30 years, that's going to be the open space.
And that's what we got as a result of the survey. Everybody's wanting a place to shop, but yet they want the open space.
right, right.
You know,
Can't have
so-
both.
But,
Not in the same
well,
spot.
you can, not in the same spot, which is pretty much what they want now.
Right. So maybe we say something about balance.
Yeah.
Keywords like that, something like.
Like, if you look at that first paragraph, one of the things that I think is a little risky to include, especially given how the town of Douglas then developed over the course of the 20 years, was like the statement that Douglas will continue to grow in a manner that allows for new development to be absorbed into the existing landscape. How is it absorbed, right? Like, if you just say that it's going to be absorbed rather than like concentrated in specific areas, then it's just going to, that implies that it could be
I
developed
think
all
what they
over.
mean by absorbed is it will blend in. You're not going to have,
You won't be able to see.
you're not going to have a housing unit in the middle of an old cow field, you know? That's what I get by absorbed.
Yeah.
That's how I'm interpreting it. I'm not saying that's what happens. I'm just saying that's how I'm interpreting the statement.
It might be good to include some, like, language about it, like, intentionally concentrating development. And I think a lot of people in the community agree that where there is, like, commercial development, it may make sense to include, like, more dense development around those areas rather than eating into more of the green space. So,
For a different project, this just made me think of it, this was helping somebody workshop.
Could you speak up a
Sorry.
little bit?
For a different project, helping somebody workshop from a different town, we came up with something, preserving the history and character of rural Ashby with the growth and development of the surrounding cities without losing our identity. And I think that's kind of one of the things we really want to look at with our master plan, is that, like, merging everything without losing the identity of, like, the highlighted area on the board,
Right. What makes Douglas, Douglas?
as opposed to Oxford.
Right.
But, and letting the new century come in, but keeping Douglas, Douglas. So I don't know if that helps at all, but just that terminology.
I like that.
That would be a great opening line, what makes Douglas Douglas.
What makes Douglas Douglas? Yeah,
It sort of would be
work that in.
We got Bob's Douglas Doe, right?
Comes with pizza, though.
That was fun. I gotta
Yeah,
say,
that was a good,
I
that was a
enjoy
good
this
municipal
whole- I gotta
exercise.
just say, I enjoy this whole proud. I really do.
It's a good group.
This is cool
Put
stuff.
that on the record.
It is.
Let's see. Yeah, and we did have a question in the survey too. We said, how would you like to see Douglas in 20 years? So I've kind of started going through, there were 450 responses, so it's a lot to like parse through. But I've started going through and just seeing what are like the key themes. So we can also incorporate, what we're saying in this meeting, but also make sure to refer to the survey as well. So I think for next meeting, I'll bring kind of an organized group of themes that have really stood out in that specific question.
Weird question, like, people who are like, I'm just passing through town, do they answer what they want to see Douglas like in 20 years? Did they answer that? The people who are just like, I'm kind of here, but I'm not staying.
Like they live, like they're renting for like a year?
Like the people are like.
Touch and go for a few years type of thing.
When they answered the survey, do you know if they also answered that question?
Yeah, let's check that.
We can look, yeah.
I guess it would just be in, like,
I thought there was. Oh, no, it was the school one, but I thought there was.
I guess it was just, like, you're not planning on staying, so how much stake do you really have in how the town looks in 20 years?
But if the town was different, would that
change how
change their perception
Yeah, would
of
you want to
staying
hang
or
around a
going?
little bit?
Flip the
Right.
script, yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be good, like, to take a look at both of those groups and
I
see how
thought
they
there
responded
was,
differently.
I thought there was a question
And like I said,
kind of geared towards that.
the kids are different because, I said the same thing. I'm leaving town and never coming back. And look where I'm sitting right now.
That's what I said. Me too, I was going to live in Manhattan.
The kids, their responses,
so bad, I guess.
the kids' responses, I don't want to take necessarily as much, but like the adult responses, the ones who are like, no, just passing through, a little bit more weight on those ones.
That's a really good point. Yeah, we can go back to the survey and kind of like cross-check that based on how they responded to, I think, how many years they've lived here, or how long they plan to live here.
Yeah, I think there was a question like that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Trying to remember.
I think what you find, because we don't have a lot of renters here, because we don't have a lot of.
Right.
But the ones who do rent don't feel that they're ever going to get in a position where they can afford to live in Douglas. And there's the difference. They'd love to live in Douglas.
They're going to have an opportunity with new housing. We can have 1 acre of land and build another house on it
Right.
and rent it. So that's coming.
It's up to 900 square feet, though.
So
Yeah, but,
I live in a 900 square feet and I could put another house on my
Yeah.
acre. So,
you'll have to upgrade your septic system probably, but,
yeah.
yeah. See, I don't have a problem with that. That's what people did 100 years ago. They had their farmhouse, and
As your
then the
family
kids got
grew,
married,
they
they added an addition on one end, and then somebody else got married, they added an addition on the other one, and
They built a
My wife and I were just having that conversation.
when I grew up, my best friend lived down around the corner. Her grandfather had a house there. Her mother had a little house right behind him. She was just, ended up divorced, and she had 2 kids. Well, she had this little small house, smaller than those tiny houses. It was right behind it, and the uncle was over there, and the cousin was over there. And it was a whole family community, and they were all on maybe, I bet you the whole thing wasn't 2 acres altogether for the whole thing. And, families were together, and there was a quality of life there, too. So I don't have a problem with these accessory develop units. I think, I pushed, that I was the first one pushing for the in-law apartments. I pushed, and I was the one that managed to get that through in Douglas. We didn't have that at all before.
Well, I thank you, because I have one, and my youngest lives in it.
Good for you. Isn't that great? I think they're great ideas. It keeps families together.
Exactly. 24, and he can't afford to live on his own.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
I want my sister to make one so I can live in it.
Yeah, so something like that, in terms of like the vision statement, I don't know, like an inclusive place to live where everyone has an opportunity to live here, something like that. We'll craft some language, if that's
An
something,
opportunity
yeah, that's a
for-
priority.
The problem is that, I don't know, and it's statewide, or at least this part of the state. I mean, the working people cannot afford, there's no workforce housing, okay? There's no workforce housing. And I built a lot of workforce housing. And one of my biggest customers were policemen, people who worked for the highway department, fire department, you know. And it's that, those people can't afford to own their own homes. It's not fair. They're doing all the work to take care of us, but they can't afford to own their own home. Because the price is artificially, I mean, I know that cost of buildings up, but added, I tell you one thing, you can put it right with a lot of the permits too. Every time you turn around, every board has got their hand out, they want some more money.
And the visioning and the future goals is some way to sort of slide affordable housing in there.
Yeah,
Without
definitely.
being too definitive, too rough around the edges.
For the vision statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could say where it's a
It's huge.
affordable place to live
Yeah.
for
You know,
all the workforce. I don't know.
I think you can put moderately priced workforce housing. Because the minute you hear affordable, they think of Great Brook Valley is coming to Douglas. Yeah, you know?
Whatever it's called.
So maybe there's a better word than
Yeah,
affordable?
workforce housing. Moderately priced workforce housing.
Is that something that should be in goals, though, if we get into specifics,
Right.
Yeah.
more
Yes.
goal visioning?
Okay, yeah, you could be right.
But I
Yeah.
think it's
Keep the
valid.
statement short.
But we're not really doing goals then.
Describing later.
Yeah, principles and then strategies.
Yeah.
I like the word balance, somehow, you know, the balance between the rural character and the
Modern.
and the need to attract employers and tax
I
revenue.
like identity too.
What about other things we would maybe want to hit on, like the quality of the schools, farmland, looking at other examples.
Sadly, there's not much farmland left.
Yeah, maybe like a thriving downtown or something like that.
Douglas
or
never was an
village.
agricultural town.
Okay, so we don't
Compared
really,
to Uxbridge and stuff, their soils were never good.
yeah.
Which is why we did
It was more of a
wood and
logging
shingles.
community. We
Right,
had the
yep.
big
The forest.
sawmills
Yeah,
on every
yeah.
street.
But it never was a big agricultural one. Northbridge and Uxbridge had better soils and stuff.
So as part of the vision statement, are you looking in that, you know, if we're going to go with like that 3-paragraph that we mentioned, that 3rd paragraph being more of like kind of your vision for the future, should we be saying something in there about, you know, what you were talking about, you know, the preservation of, you know, a
Character.
family being able to, you know, stay in Douglas? So I don't know the proper way to word that.
Yeah.
But I think that should be part of your future vision, is not only, you know, commercial growth, responsible growth, but also finding a way to intersect that with the ability for families to continue to grow within the town.
You want your community to thrive instead of survive.
Yeah. No,
So, yeah.
If you have a community that doesn't have young people in it, it's, you know,
It becomes the villages in Florida.
right, right.
They have a great golf cart system.
Or the Shakers.
We don't have the road. We don't have roads.
They would just fall over, they hit a pothole.
It'd be great, but we don't have the roads to handle the golf carts.
I love seeing young families.
Yeah.
I saw a lot at Oktoberfest. I was actually really impressed. Yeah. A lot of young families.
Because Oktoberfest takes them from all the valley. We get a lot of people, it's not just Douglas people.
Quality of education was something the students talked a lot about. Like there were students that were saying like they chose Douglas even though they live in other towns because of the education system here. And they, that was their problem with like even though that they like the education and they think that it's like high quality, they just wish the teachers were paid more. So it was sustainable. But they did emphasize that they really thought the classes were high quality, so.
And that's something that attracts young families, is the quality of the school.
Yeah,
Yes,
they said like that should be something we should capitalize on.
Yeah, that vision I was talking about with the preservation of the family, one of the things you could mention is through quality education, something in sustaining, yeah, that through, sustaining quality education or continuing to provide quality education, something along those lines. Again, trying to encapsulate the entire family unit from child on up, so to speak,
So that the community remain attractive for young families.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Or multi-generational.
Younger generation.
Multi-generational.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, like multi-generations. I was thinking generational continuity or something.
Yeah.
So if we're talking that, then we also want to make sure that we've got something in there for the seniors.
Right.
We want to, you want to also make sure that there's a way to incorporate that in as well.
But you know what's
Again,
nice for
Bob,
seniors?
word on
To be able to have your grandchildren.
There's another
Yeah, balance between the
Be able to see
generations.
your
Or
grandkids.
next door.
Yeah, or next door. But I mean, just,
Like you said, that family.
yeah, right. To be able to have your grandchildren near you. Instead of them having to move,
Yeah.
out to, 4-hour airplane ride away to see them twice a year.
But then that would also be like having the resources in town, the affordable housing,
But those would be part of the chapters, then,
Yeah.
Right.
discussing all the details behind that, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the goals get more into it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The goals are the how do we get
Right,
there?
right.
Yeah.
What
It's kind of
steps
what
do
we
we take?
aspire, we are what we aspire to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So something about like bringing, including seniors as like actual members of the community. And so having all of the different age levels sort of accounted for and I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard.
Enduring our seniors and
Enduring
welcoming
is a negative connotation, believe it or not.
Honoring?
Not the word, honoring.
Honoring,
yeah.
respect, yeah.
Honoring all our citizens from birth to
Yeah.
And welcoming new families.
creating a
young
welcoming environment from the little.
Cradle to grave.
Little
A little too direct.
You want to keep it brief.
From youth to retirement, maybe, I don't know.
And beyond.
Beyond,
Sunrise to
Beyond.
sunset.
The great beyond.
We'll keep you here forever. We have nice cemetery.
Oh, okay, I love it.
like right now, I mean, the seniors are, they've got their place downtown,
Yeah.
pickleball thing
Right, right.
going. They can choose to walk on the sled, I mean,
Yeah.
so it's not like, right now, they have nothing. They have quite a bit.
But there's not a whole lot of opportunities for there's not like youth programs where they can
No.
go and support the seniors. There is they talked about how they had one at the high school, but the seniors can't even really access it from the parking lot because they can't go up the stairs. So
Where are you talking about?
there was an event that they had at the high school.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
the
that?
high schoolers wanted to host a dinner or something for the seniors, but for some reason there was some handicapped access issue and they couldn't,
Really?
which I was really surprised.
All our schools were.
Well, they have,
Yeah,
the
it's a
parking.
relatively,
Parking is down
You gotta
8
get up them
steps, so.
stairs.
Right.
Where you get dropped off at the,
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
that's a handicap accessibility. Kind of like a library.
Yeah.
If you can get to the,
If you can get to the door, you can get in,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's all you have to provide.
So you say something about ensuring all our public spaces are inclusive to all ages and abilities,
Yes.
something like that?
Oh, please, don't get involved with that because it'll cost us a fortune. I'm putting on my little
ADA.
finance hat. Oh, My son is on a finance committee
Yeah.
in another town, and they embraced all of this, and oh boy. Well, then they found out that they started coming in, and they were looking for anything that wasn't handicap accessible, and it was costing them
Yeah.
a fortune, so we will leave that one alone.
At least the library, though.
We're grandfathered, we gotta stay open, we're grandfathered. We can't close. If we close, we're done.
So what next steps, I guess,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, should we be thinking about?
Well, do you have something to go on now for visioning? That is
Yeah.
a start.
This is a really good start, thank you.
We'll just continually work that out,
Yes.
which I'm sure we will,
Yep.
with vigor and abandon. So, goals and objectives, are we doing any of that, or is that upcoming?
That'll be upcoming. Yeah.
Okay.
Mine's closed.
Do you have anything else?
Not for tonight, no. Just for next meeting, yeah, we'll kind of, I think, start to craft some actual like language on paper and then see if you have feedback on that and, yeah, just continue to work on refining this. Yeah, that's all I had.
All right. The only thing else I had was the reoccurring item I'd like to have on there. I would like to talk about housing. Doesn't have to be tonight. What I'd really like to do is let you know what we're going to talk about next time, and you can do your own research and think about it. Housing's a big issue. I guess the question is affordable housing really an oxymoron? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Is there something we can do? Public, private, I don't know. Somebody may have figured something out somewhere, but it's a really difficult issue. And we talked about young people being able to stay in town. Part of that is affordable housing.
And a big issue is getting the public involved in this. Because like zoning places for tiny houses or some type of village development. If you watch the fall town meeting for Sutton, they tried to pass a whole bunch of these village districts in Sutton, and nobody knew about it. They had the biggest town meeting ever, and they had like 8 articles that went down in flames. It was so bad.
Right, because if you don't explain
It was all
to
about
people-
housing, and they were
Yeah.
changing zoning to get certain housing, certain locations, and it was fascinating to watch.
One of the things, just from my perspective as working for a financial institution, I've seen in the past it work where, a town works with a couple of financial institutions, some nonprofit agencies, and for example, like the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston. And because the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston has different grants and other housing programs that they deal with because they do community reinvestment and what have you. And so what you do is you try to find a way to, through the nonprofits, FHLB, and the financial institutions, to be able to offer grants, loans, and what have you. So this way what you're doing is you're trying to incent a specific target of housing instead of it being, $900,000 houses, which every builder wants to build because they make a tremendous amount of profit off of it. What you're now doing is by getting nonprofits and some other folks involved in it, you try to build almost like a program. They did this post-World War II even. They did some of these types of programs where you're trying to build, you have a specific target that you want to build. I mean, FHLB Boston has a program for down payment assistance called Housing Our Workers, HOW. It's offered through different financial institutions. If you fall less than 120% of the median income, depending upon family size in the county of Worcester, there's a guide on how much is the maximum amount you're allowed to borrow. And they'll provide down payment assistance and closing cost assistance, et cetera, through these different grant programs at FHLB. And, like a family of 2, I think it's, if the family of 2, so a married couple, if their income doesn't exceed like $125,000 between the 2 of them, the maximum is like $400,000 or $500,000 the borrowing amount, so to speak. So again, you're trying to target more of the, the family type of housing. So that might be something to, I could even look into it and, try to provide something next month just to see what that's been, if that sort of program's been done successfully in other towns.
And the other thing too is you can do incentives too, whereby you allow a greater density if the houses are, maybe make a thing on the size of them. Instead of McMansions, they have to be a certain size, or, and come in under a certain price, and you allow a density to that. They do have something like that through 40B.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, maybe looking for grants to bring sewer, because that's where you can do better density, if you can bring sewer and water to an area. Some of that, but, encourage not the real expensive houses. I'm not against the expensive houses, because from the planning point of view, they pay a lot of money. So we'd like to have that from the Finance Committee. But, I think I'd just like to see a multi-generational town. The people who are buying those $1 million houses, they're not young families, I can tell you that. This is not their first house.
And the question, can you have can it be qualified by residency? I don't know if you can do that.
I think you can give, on the 40B, you can, they get first choice of so many or something, I think. I'm not,
If
I
it's
didn't work the
conditioned,
program.
the approval by the town, you
Right.
can give first residency, yes.
Yeah, you can get
Something you
people.
can do.
But these are things we should talk about, and some people try to reinvent the wheel, but this, as you discussed, there's stuff out there, there's ideas. So
Yeah.
I think we really need to talk about that, because this will direct where we may want to go with zoning, with
Yeah.
zoning changes as a recommendation.
When I was doing the affordable housing, the stuff that I was building, we funded a lot of them through Farmers Home. I would not only build the houses for the people, I'd get them their loans. And a lot of the builders said, I'm not going to build under that program, they tell you how to build a house. Well, yes, they do. But, you can, it only could be so big, this, that, and the other, and everything else. But people who never would have been able to have their own home were able to have their own home. And 40 years later, a lot of them, you too, yeah.
Paid
Right.
it off 15 years ago.
Right.
Got it when I was 24 years old.
Yeah, right, but people, who would never be able to afford a home were able to afford a home, and you're in your house for 40 years. I can't tell you how many people that are still in the homes, the small homes, and they raise families in there and everything, and now they say, well, you know what, we're old, but we don't have to downsize.
And what size were post-World War II homes in those big subdivisions?
Exactly.
They were-
Yeah.
800, 900?
Yeah, they were under 1,000.
Right, that's
On
pretty
Long
much what I
Island,
was doing.
Levittown, the entire,
Yeah.
the Levitt, Mr. Levitt, he designed an entire town of houses that were on 60 by 120 lots.
Right.
That were about 1,500 square foot houses. And it was an entire town built
Right.
in the post-World War II environment.
And it encouraged neighborhoods, though, that type of thing. Kids used to go out and play outside with other kids.
Yes.
Imagine
You
that.
don't see that today.
Get in lots of trouble,
Well, you know what?
which was fun.
Which was fun, because it was a learning
Had its
experience.
moments, it had its moments, yes.
Disappear in the morning, come back at night.
Exactly.
That's it.
When the
It made you
streetlights
Lights came
independent.
on.
That's it.
Yeah.
Made you independent.
With no helmet.
Yeah, right.
And usually a couple extra scars by the time you're at the end of the day.
Now, how
So-
we doing on that age 55 bylaw, or has it made any progress?
I haven't touched that in a little while, because the guy who was trying to propose it fell off the planet. We're not sure what happened to him. He hasn't reached out to us at all.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Whatever happened with our accessory dwelling unit bylaw? Is it come back from the Attorney General yet?
No.
I guess they're too busy doing other things, huh?
We need a response from them by March 31st. There-
We're going to get one by March 31st? Oh, okay.
They're required by law.
Oh, by law. Ah,
Well, at least with Mount's help, we at least had a bylaw, because we had to hit the ground running by February. And we recently went to a conference, and they were talking about EUs, and most of the communities that were there had nothing.
Right.
Had done nothing. They weren't
Right.
ready for it.
right,
Because the state's still working on it.
Yes?
It was kind of done in haste,
yeah.
by the state. Well, thank you for your thoughts and ideas. Let's think about it and come back and discuss it next meeting.
Great.
In earnest. Anything else you'd like to talk about? Either anything we've discussed or anything else you'd like to add?
Just the quarterly reporting.
So I think CMRPC is under contract to provide at least the information under the quarterly reports. I can get you the templates as part of the grant authority, just so you can get those to us. We need that before our next meeting, so that's coming up soon. That's whatever expenses are incurred up
So
until that
deadline
time.
April 15th, that's
Yes.
before our next meeting?
Yes. Yep.
Next meeting on the 16th.
Look at that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything else?
Yeah, it's for the town hall.
Anything else anyone would like to add? Hearing that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Ross, seconded by Bob. Roll call vote, of course.
There you go, you get it. Rich?
Aye.
Linda Brown, aye.
Carol Gogolinski, aye.
Michael Valley, aye.
Robert Leonardi, aye.
Ross Smith, aye.
Bob Moran, aye.
Dan?
Dan Mascroft, aye. Good job, guys.
Rich Preston, aye.